Well, hello and welcome to Binge Watch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwan, writer on TV and Satellite Week, TV Times, What's on TV and whattowatch.com. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available to you on Friday the 4th of April 2025, including Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren and Tom Hardy. Yeah, in Guy Ritchie's star-studded crime drama MobLand. And Kevin Bacon, yes, plays a resurrected bounty hunter sending demons back to hell in prime horror series The Bondsman.
And we'll also be checking out Ben Miller and Sally Phillips in a new comedy called Austin on iPlayer, and Michelle Williams in the drama Dying for Sex on Disney+. But first, Ian, what's in the news?
Apple TV Plus drama The Dealer will star Jessica Chastain as a woman aiming to run a top gallery, and Adam Driver as a talented but troubled artist. Aren't they all? What else is in the news, Hannah?
Well, the fifth run of hit Disney Plus Whodunit Only Murders in the Building will see Renée Zellweger, Christoph Waltz and Tia Leone join as Steve Martin and Martin Short's podcasters investigate the murder of Dorman Lester.
Well, I probably say it too often, but it's a good selection this week. It really is. We're going to start off on, well, Paramount Plus, who've been coming out with some decent stuff of late. This landed on Sunday, the 30th of March. It's a new drama called MobLand, and here's a clip.
Name's Conrad Harrigan, family man. And if you cross my family, well, you'd better pray. We shake the right hands, break the wrong ones.
I think we have a situation developing.
So quite a lot of this is directed by Guy Ritchie, who of course directed Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and The Gentleman, and it very much feels like a Guy Ritchie production, for better or worse. And it's about two London crime families who go to war, and they've got quite an impressive cast in this. So one family, the Harrigans, is led by Pierce Brosnan, 007, and Helen Mirren playing his wife. So they are Conrad Harrigan and his wife Maeve. And then you've got Tom Hardy doing his speaking very quietly but being absolutely terrifying act as their fixer, Harry. You've got Joanne Froggatt as his wife, Jan, who is unhappily married. You've got Paddy Considine as one of the Harrigan boys, one of the sons of Conrad. It's had some not particularly complimentary reviews, in that sort of saying, oh, it's the same old Guy Ritchie stuff, you know. Also, the Irish Times, I noticed, complained about Pierce Brosnan's accent, even though he is Irish. But I got to admit, I watched the first two episodes and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It's also got Lara Pulver as daughter-in-law of Conrad, and Mandeep Dhillon as the only daughter, Serafina. It starts off with an incident in a nightclub involving Conrad's grandson, who is a bit of a loose cannon. He's called Eddie and he's played by Anson Boone. And he's on a big night out with a lad from the rival crime family, so they're not really supposed to associate with each other. And then it all kind of goes horribly wrong. And this is how sort of hostilities commence between the Stevensons, which are headed up by Jeff Bell, and the Harrigans. Anyway, I've rambled on far too much about it, but I got to say, despite pretty mixed reviews, I really liked it. And if you like Guy Ritchie's stuff, you're going to love it. What did you think, Hannah?
Do you know what? I do love Guy Ritchie stuff, but I also love the cast here. And as you say, it's fairly stellar, isn't it? And I'm a massive Pierce Brosnan fan. And I think when you get this many big names, and Helen Mirren, it's so many big names, Tom Hardy, oh God, there's so many. They are just, there's so much pressure on it to be excellent. That's the point, isn't it? The bar is set so high. And I think that's why you've got a few negative, but, you know, reviews, critics that have slightly gone in on it. But I think it does what it says on the tin. It is quite bloody in places. It's quite brutal in places, as you'd expect. It's two powerful London crime families going to war against each other. What do you expect? And you know, Guy Ritchie's got a form for this. He knows what he's doing. He's chosen the right sort of people, I think, that have a real stage presence, and therefore it works. You sort of totally bought into the whole scenario. I think I've spoken before about how this kind of underworld almost fascinates me. It's probably going on everywhere and we don't even really know about it. But also the fact that so many of them are so likeable, yet they're criminals. And I always find that quite hard to kind of, you know, match in my mind as well, that weird juxtaposition. But I have to say, you know, this kind of genre is not a natural fit for me, as you well know. But this kind of quality of lineup, it has to be watched. You've got to watch it, and I really don't think you'll walk away feeling disgruntled that you've wasted your time on it. You won't have done.
Agreed. And footnote, it's written by the person who created Top Boy, another gangland drama. Well, we're going to move across to a BBC iPlayer for a new comedy series called Austin. It arrived on Friday, the 4th of April, and here's a clip.
What's your name?
Austin Hogan. I'm pretty sure that I'm your son.
A beloved children's author, getting to know his long-lost autistic son. There could be a book in it.
Could be a documentary.
Maybe you'd like to come and visit us.
I'm going to Great Britain.
Is a handshake okay?
Have you washed them recently?
No, she hasn't.
Yes, so I've watched 2 episodes of this. This is on BBC iPlayer, and I really didn't think I was going to like it very much when it started. I thought, oh no, this just feels really awkward and uncomfortable and kind of, you know, I just didn't work for me. But I soon found myself completely sucked in, and before I knew it, the first episode was over, which is always a great sign, isn't it, when something just goes so quickly and you know, as this title suggests, you just want to binge watch it. And I actually do really want to binge watch the rest. So this stars Ben Miller. He is a best-selling children's writer. Now, he's quite annoying. It starts with him being quite arrogant, does love himself. His wife is the person that does all the illustrations for his book. She is played by,
Sally Phillips.
She is played by Sally Phillips. And actually, I prefer her part to his. She just kind of creates this kind of even keel between the two of them, because working with someone and being married to them, I'd imagine, is pretty tough. So anyway, he is a very renowned children's author, and he makes the silly mistake one night of retweeting something or re-Xing something, whatever it's called these days, which was basically a terrible thing that he shouldn't have done, and it had been originated from somebody, a neo-Nazi, which just she shouldn't have done. But he didn't see that, he didn't realise, and he did it. And of course, immediately his kind of whole career is thrown into question, because people don't want to sell his books. He's associated with the wrong thing. I mean, all very obvious. And we have seen stuff like this before, not particularly as authors, but we have seen stuff like this before. But at the same time, a lad turns up called Austin. And Austin says that he claims that he is his son. Now, there's this awkward moment, because first of all, he wants to do a runner from the bookshop that he's in. He wants to try and get out of the bag because he doesn't want to speak to, he thinks he's a lunatic. You know, why on earth is he claiming that I'm his father? I'm clearly not. And his wife, she says, hang on a minute, let me go and speak to him. And they end up sitting around in a cafe and chatting. And it turns out that, of course, the dates don't quite work out, because he was already with his current wife then. That was all a bit awkward too. But it's not brilliantly credible. I mean, I feel like I would have had a right tantrum at that point, knowing that, probably gone crazy. And she's just so together. She just holds it together, puts a bag over his shoulder, and just kind of walks out. But it's all done in a very sort of, there's kind of like a comedic level to it in some respects. Now, Austin is 28, and this is the interesting part of this. He's neurodivergent and he's autistic, and he's absolutely He's my favourite character, actually. I just love it because, do you know what? We talk a lot about people dealing with autism or, various different neurodivergent issues. And he explains so much to me. I don't know what you thought, Ian, but I literally felt like I learned so much from him, and this kind of linear way to discuss things and just being completely direct. Wouldn't the world be better if we were all a bit more direct rather than dancing around everything? And I absolutely thought he was brilliant. So it's 8 parts. As I say, I'm 2 episodes in. I'm completely hooked. I want to know where it goes. I'm really interested to see the relationship, if there's a relationship between him and his son, and also the fact that there's a funny part. I think it's just in the first episode, the end of the first episode, where the mother of Austin is talking to her current husband, and he says, "Well, of course, he owes you all the money." He says, "I don't want any of his money." He said, "Well, He's a successful author, children's author. Why wouldn't you want some of his money? He hasn't looked after his son." So suddenly there's a different dynamic there too introduced. It's, I don't know what it is, but I enjoyed it. What did you think, Ian?
Yeah, like you, I didn't particularly think I was going to like it, but Ben Miller, for him, sort of playing an exasperated sort of middle-class professional who's in trouble, it's like falling off a log for him. He's very good at it. And Sally Phillips is just delightful. But yeah, as you say, kind of the breakout star of this is Michael Theo, who he was in the reality show Love on the Spectrum, was about people with autism dating. And now he's got the title role in this. And as you say, it's the way that he interacts with other people is what makes it. It's funny, but it's also really interesting. So, for instance, when they first get together for a dinner party, all he does is like ask his dad about errors on his Wikipedia page, So stuff like that. I mean, I think at points it stretches credulity. Like, for instance, it reminded me a bit of the premise of Douglas is Cancelled with Hugh Bonneville, where he suddenly becomes persona non grata because of social media. But yeah, so in episode 1. Because his book launch is getting pulled by it's all set in Australia, by the way, by a big bookstore. They kind of get in touch with another sort of independent bookstore, but it turns out to be one that's just got lots of copies of Mein Kampf in the window. So I didn't really buy into that. But there's a lot to recommend it, and Michael Theo and his character are what makes this different. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Over on Prime Video, arrived on Thursday the 3rd of April, a new horror series called The Bondsman. And here's a clip.
Mr. Halloran, I'm here about your new job orientation.
She knows things, Hub, about how you
died and went to hell. You're only standing here now because we brought you back.
Which is just plain silly.
Do you think it's silly, Mr. Halloran?
What job, lady?
8 episodes to this one, Hannah. Cast your mind back, if you will, to 1990. Remember the film Flatliners with Kevin Bacon, Kiefer Sutherland and Julia Roberts? And they were medical students who were trying to find out what happens to you after you die. Well, in this new series, in which he plays the title role of the Bondsman, he's going to find out. So, for British listeners, a bondsman is someone who kind of guarantees that someone will turn up for trial, and if they don't, they then have to go and get them and bring them back. So that's how it starts off. He's trying to bring someone who should be in court. He's trying to capture them and bring them back. And he gets attacked, and then he wakes up. He's got a great big gash across his throat. And anyway, to cut a long story short, and it's not really a spoiler because it happens right at the beginning, it turns out he has died. And but he's been brought back from the dead to, it's the old story, to send demons back to hell. Yeah, but it's done with a lot of style and quite tongue-in-cheek. And also it's got his ex-wife is a country music singer. So it's got all sorts going on, really. You're going to get lots of different demons, including there's a possessed cheerleader who he wrestles underwater in a swimming pool. Looking forward to that. Jennifer Nettles, who is a singer-songwriter and was in Righteous Gemstones. So she plays his ex-wife, Marianne. Oh, yes, and Kevin's character is called Hub Halloran. And what is rather nice is that so his mother was also a bondsman or a bondsperson. And so he still lives in her garage. Kevin Bacon describes him as a bit of a man child. He's never really grown up. So his mother Kitty, played by Beth Grant, and just their reaction to finding out that he is resurrected to hunt demons, it's just so kind of deadpan. They think, oh, well, let's get the chainsaw. We better crack on. So it's great fun. It's not just for horror fans because it's really humorous. And to get Kevin Bacon in a show like this, I think is a hell of a coup, isn't it? I mean, I love Kevin Bacon. They keep showing Footloose at the moment on TV, don't they? Which is a great Kevin Bacon movie. So I did have a chat with the showrunner for this, Eric Ollerson, and I just thought it was a great laugh. Something really different and a really different take on the horror genre. And I would say well worth a look. What did you think, Hannah? Is this one for you?
Well, it's a bit odd, isn't it? I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's a bit odd. It's a bit gruesome in places, and it's just a bit strange. I mean, another non-natural fit for me, I would say. But as you say, the fact that Kevin Bacon is in this is, as you rightly say, an absolute coup, and would have to be a pretty good script for him to even, pay lip service to it. So the idea that he's in it is great, and he absolutely makes it. I think if it was someone else, it would be as ridiculous as it sounds when we describe it. Whereas actually with him, it kind of brings the whole thing to life. And this sort of dry kind of the way he sort of says his lines, almost, the script, the way he delivers it. It just makes it work. But no, it is strange. It is odd. It's not something that I'd say, do you know what? I absolutely love this. I don't. I feel like you should watch it because he's good, and it's something a bit different. It's a bit gruesome, as I say, in places, and I just struggle when people come back from the dead. I mean, I'm going to leave it there.
You don't
I
like
just
it,
struggle
do you?
with that.
Yeah. You hate,
no, I've got a problem with it. It just doesn't feel that authentic to me. I don't know. I can't see why. I don't know why.
Another footnote for you. So the showrunner told me that, of course, Kevin Bacon, he plays in a band with his brother, and they're called the Bacon Brothers. Well, he and his co-star, Jennifer Nettles, have recorded a whole album of songs inspired by being in this show. And there is country music in this show, so if you like that, tune in. Well, we're going to finish over on Disney Plus with a new drama series which arrived on Friday the 4th of April. It's called Dying for Sex, and here's a clip.
I actually have no idea what I like or what I want.
It's just about finding who are you under all of this? What do you fantasize about?
You kicked him in the... And I loved it.
Are you on some sort of a sex quest?
I'm trying to figure out what I like.
Is that hand sanitizer? Oh no, it's lube. Okay. That's a lot. Do we need all that?
Yes.
Well, this has got me. This I really, really did enjoy. Yes, just beautifully kind of curated, and it's funny, but it's sad, and it's everything in between. So this stars Michelle Williams, who I'm a huge fan of anyway. Actually, I think she can turn her hand to lots of different parts, and she really does with this. So it is a comedy drama, and it's inspired by the final years of New Yorker Molly Cocken. Now, it's 8 parts. And it's based on the podcast of Molly. Now, she walks out of her very sexless, loveless marriage to her husband after 15 years But when she does that, she also finds out that she has incurable breast cancer. So a moment in time which should be completely liberating, I suppose, because of how oppressed her life was with her husband. Suddenly she finds out that she has incurable breast cancer, which is just an absolutely dreadful position to be in. She's young, she has everything to give in life, and it just feels incredibly cruel. And you see her friendship, and this is the bit I almost love the most of all of this. Obviously their quest for her to, go and, bed men is funny, but really it's her relationship with her best friend, Nikki, played by Jenny Slate. It's that relationship that's so lovely that you see really kind of flourish, and she goes straight to her house. She gives her a place to stay, and she's got this one quest because she creates this bucket list, and the first thing on the bucket list is sexual fulfillment. And basically she says she has never ever had an orgasm with somebody else before, and that is what she wants to do before she dies. So as I say, whilst there's this kind of funny sort of narrative around her joining dating apps and you seeing her meeting some different men, deeply rooted underneath it is this incredibly sad story of a woman who's in her final years who just shouldn't be. So as I say, I quite like it when those two emotions come together. You don't know if you're laughing or crying, and that really is where this is. This gets you straight away. For me, it completely locks you in. You just want to know exactly. I suppose you kind of do know what's going to happen, but the joy and wanting her to live her life as much as she could if you were in those shoes, it's palpable. Really, I kind of like, come on, yeah, you can do this. You can find someone. You're gonna get there. So, and also, like, there are moments where she just feels so angry at the fact that she has this disease. And I think anybody who's had it or knows someone who's had it can relate to that. So it feels really authentic, I think, as well. So yeah, definitely a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. But people might know Michelle Williams from The Fabelmans. She got an Oscar nomination. She played, it's really about Steven Spielberg's family, isn't it? And she played the mother, who I kind of found quite an annoying character. But she was also played Gwen Verdon in Fosse Verdon, which was all about choreographer Bob Fosse and his partner. And she was superb in that. And she's just on screen. There's something about her. She's got so much charisma and presence. So she's great in the lead role. I like the stuff at the beginning where they're having couples counselling. She gets her sort of diagnosis and all the stuff that happens with the husband and the best friend. And I've got to say, Jenny Slate, who plays the friend Nikki, and she was in Parks and Recreation, she is superb in this. She really is. Because Molly wants to go and stay with her friend. She doesn't want to be with her husband at this stage. And the friend's got a new lover who's a musician and has a very short fuse and just tends to get into these massive arguments on the street with randoms. So she's very good in this. And it turns out, it will emerge that kind of this quest or the difficulty she's had sort of sexually are related to things from the past. So it's also got that angle as well. It's not just kind of sexy in a Sex and the City way. It's got quite a sort of tragic backstory, and of course it's got the story of being diagnosed with terminal cancer. I mean, making you rethink, okay, what do I want at the end? Who do I want to be with? Yeah, what is on my bucket list? I kind of found that initially the chat she had with the palliative care specialist and talks about the bucket list, I wasn't quite sure that worked, but yeah, there's a lot to recommend this, not least Williams, who is just fantastic in the lead role. Well, we've got to that time, Hannah, where we find out what the hell you've been binge watching.
Well, I continued to binge watch what we discussed last week, which is Last One Laughing with Jimmy Carr. I would struggle not to laugh, and some of the faces they pull when they're trying not to laugh makes me laugh even harder. What about you, Ian?
Yeah, it's an absolutely massive hit for Amazon, isn't it? And of course, stick Bob Mortimer on something, on to a winner.
Dynamite.
Well, I've gone back in time because Netflix have acquired See No Evil, which I think might have been on ITV years ago. And it's about the Moors murderers, and it has Maxine Peake as Myra Hindley and Sean Harris as Ian Brady. It's also got a young Matthew McNulty in it. That is really good, a really good watch. Also, because today I interviewed Chris Packham about a new series he's got coming up about neurodivergent people, I went back and watched the first series he did, which was called Inside Our Autistic Minds. The new one is about dyslexia and ADHD. That's available on BBC iPlayer, and I will tell you, it had me in floods of tears. It was a brilliant piece of documentary making and highly informative as well. Well, we've just got time to look ahead to next week's offerings. So what's on the binge watch menu, Hannah?
Well, next week, Charlie Brooker's dystopian anthology series, Black Mirror, returns on Netflix with roles for Peter Capaldi and Paul Giamatti.
Yes, and that is on the cover of the current issue of TV and Satellite Week. And, oh, this is good, John Hamm from Mad Men stars as a hedge fund manager whose life is in free fall in Apple TV Plus drama Your Friends and Neighbours. So we look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, listeners, keep watching.